Even as someone who loves cooking like I do, my cooking motivation absolutely drops off a cliff as temperatures get to 90 degrees and above. So when that happens, I need some simple meals to make. Except, I still want them to taste good and be healthy so I can crush them with reckless abandon when I get in from the heat. So, in today's video, I have 3 high-protein salads you can eat all summer long. 2 are made with chicken and another with crispy tofu that may have my favorite dressing of the 3. Additionally, we also have an important side quest in this video. This side quest is, how many nested tasks can I complete while making these recipes? So why is this important? Well, learning how to efficiently nest your cooking task is one of the most overlooked skills a home cook can learn, and it will completely change how you spend time in the kitchen. The best part is, it's not hard to learn. It's really just using your common sense, but you have to be aware and understand which tasks take the longest and which can be done concurrently. By properly nesting your cooking tasks and cleaning up as you go, you can cut down your cooking and cleaning time significantly, which means you can spend more time at the pool, on the golf course, or on vacation. So let's hop into summer salad number 1, which has this spicy chicken and creamy jalapeno cilantro ranch that is just a killer combo. For the chicken, I grabbed out 2 breasts and sliced them into cubes. And I first sliced them lengthwise down into strips and then just cut across them into these nice little cubes. And what's great about this shape is twofold. One, they cook really quickly, and then secondly, you can get seasoning and browning on all sides. So after the chicken is cubed up, set a bowl over a scale and toss in the cubed chicken. And I had 460 grams here, so to that I added 1% or 5 grams of salt, a sprinkle of ground cumin seed, 10 grams of chipotles in adobo, and 10 grams of mayo. Then, you just need to mix that up, and this is one of the simplest but tastiest mayo marinades that I make fairly often. So, let's head to the stove. Set a pan over high heat, and I shoot for around 425 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface temperature. Then I'll just add in the chicken and let this sear completely untouched for about 3 to 4 minutes, and here is our first nesting task. So while the chicken is searing, I quickly rinsed out the chicken marinade bowl and washed the cutting board that I used for the raw chicken to get them out of the way, and just like that, we have perfect timing back at the stove. So using a spatula, just flip all the chicken pieces over and let them cook for another 2 to 3 minutes. And while this may not be the prettiest looking chicken, I promise the flavor is completely on point. Now, you can eat this right away, but I'm actually going to let this cool and store for later. So meanwhile, I'm going to nest another task and prepare the dressing while it's cooling. Set a blender container over a scale and add 100 grams of low-fat sour cream, 15 grams of mayo, the juice from 1/2 of a lime, and then you can either use 1/2 of a serrano or a jalapeno. I decide for the serrano for a little extra spice. Next, add 10 grams or a handful of fresh cilantro, a couple of sprigs of fresh dill, and about 1 gram of salt. Then add that container to the food processor and give it a blitz until everything is fully mixed up. And I love this because it's creamy, spicy, and has a ton of aroma from the fresh herbs of the cilantro and dill. Transfer the sauce over to a squirt bottle, and you now have this ready for the week ahead. At the same time, the chipotle chicken has cooled a bit, so I popped that into a container, and these two can be used for a lot of things besides just salad. However, for the salad, I chopped up some romaine lettuce, red onion, and halved some cherry tomatoes. To assemble, I used 45 grams of romaine lettuce, hit it with a half serving or 12 grams of the sauce to kind of pre-dress it. I added some drained black beans, then the cherry tomatoes and onions before topping with 150 grams of the cooked chicken. Lastly, for some crunch, I like adding a tostada or some tortilla chips, and lastly, 13 more grams of that sauce over the top. Let's taste test. Let's get into this. So for me, I like to get the greens out of the way a little bit, do some heavy green bites, and then you're left with these super crunchy, juicy from the tomato. Got the black beans in there for a little extra protein with the chicken. And really for this salad, having these two components in the fridge, the jalapeno or serrano ranch with the adobo chicken is just a game changer for not just salads, but really any meal out there. And this is exactly what I'm looking for in kind of a summer salad. Super filling, keeps me going, and I can eat this for both lunch and dinner. But with that being said, let's hop into salad number 2. This pasta and salad hybrid is something I make on repeat for 3 reasons. 1, you just mix all the ingredients in a big bowl. 2, it gets better if you make it ahead of time and store it in the fridge. And lastly, I love the textures and flavors. Anytime I walk by the fridge, I tend to find myself sneaking a spoonful or 2. And to start, the base for this is some pasta and a protein, which brings up the beauty of nesting tasks once again, except with a twist. In the last recipe, I nested cleaning a couple of dishes while I was cooking chicken, but for this recipe, I boiled the pasta and seared the chicken while I was just working from home in the morning. And this is how you can make cooking so much easier on yourself. If you do work from home, it's usually easy to find 2 minutes to fill a pot of water and throw some pasta on for later. Or if you go to the office, you could set a pot of water on to boil while you're making your morning coffee. Then by the time you're dressed and ready to go, you just strain it and store it for later. So what you need to do is think about the cracks in the day when you can prep an item or 2, because once you have the pasta and protein cooked, you can customize this with any number of vegetables. For this, I set a bowl over a scale, and this already has my 2 servings of pasta, and I followed that with 150 grams of grilled chicken, 145 grams of frozen peas, 100 grams of cherry tomatoes, 35 grams of romaine lettuce, 20 grams of red onion, 15 grams of pepperoncini, and 90 grams of mozzarella pearls. Now, these are really the base components that you can customize as you want, so let's season them. First, I added 10 grams of Parmigiano Reggiano, which are going to give a nice saltiness, 20 grams of olive oil, which will be our fat source, the juice from 1/2 of lemon, which is nice and sour, and then for the spices, I added a sprinkle of oregano, a sprinkle of garlic powder, and some black pepper before mixing that all up. And the oil and the lemon juice will lubricate everything and help transport those flavors throughout the salad. So I'm not going to eat this right now. This is one of my favorites to kind of just throw in a bowl and then store in the fridge because those flavors kind of all meld together, and it definitely gets better if you let it sit for a couple of hours. But I'll typically do this kind of rendition with like olive oil, maybe a little lemon juice or white vinegar, and then a couple of spices like oregano. This is also really, really good if you want to use up some leftover deli meats like ham, salami, pepperoni, that sort of thing, turkey breast, whatever you want. Peas are really clutch for like a little bit of extra protein. So I'm going to toss this one back in the fridge, but let me show you the salad that I'm actually going to make for lunch, which is one that's a little bit new for me. This miso mustard ginger dressing is amazing, and it will work for any protein you want, but I thought I would do crispy tofu today for my vegetarian and vegan friends out there. For using tofu in a salad, at least in my opinion, you must strike a balance between crispy but with a slight chew, and here's the simple method I use. First, I grabbed out half a box of some extra firm or hard tofu, and then just slice that across into planks and again into cubes. And the key to getting crispy tofu is to remove free moisture, and there are countless ways that you can do it, but here's what I did. First, I tossed the tofu into a bowl and then gave it 1% of salt, or 3 grams in this case. Then I added the cubes to a paper towel to drain and just let them sit for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I laid the cubes on a paper towel on a baking sheet and laid another paper towel over the top, then pressed down with another baking sheet to squeeze out more water. And all we're doing is just removing the free water in the tofu as best we can, which will help the browning or Maillard reaction happen much faster in the oven. Once pressed, I added a spritz of oil over the top, and this is going to help transport that heat from the oven and make them crispy. To cook, I set the oven on broil, but an air fryer would work great here too. Then I slid the pan in on the second rack and let these toast for about 5 to 7 minutes before flipping them. And the timing will depend a bit on your oven, but you'll start to see them getting crispy and crackly on top like this. Meanwhile, we can nest another task, which is making the miso dressing, of which there are just 4 key ingredients. So set a squirt bottle over a scale and add 40 grams of miso paste, 5 grams of karashi mustard, though Dijon will work well too here, 10 grams of sesame oil, and 55 grams of rice wine vinegar. Lastly, I grated some ginger on a microplane and then just slid that in and shake that bottle up. And that's really all you need to do. Now, back at the tofu, pull that pan out of the oven and it should be brown and crisp on the top and bottom. So I flip the pieces sideways so the other sides can brown and then toss them back in the oven under the broiler. After about 15 minutes in total, this is what they look like, and hopefully you can hear the crispy bits when it hits the bowl. To turn this into a salad, I like to pre-sauce the tofu pieces with 10 grams of the dressing. Then I quickly chopped some romaine lettuce, cucumber pieces, and have some more cherry tomatoes. Last, I add some pickled ginger and a little chili crisp, and I ate this just as is with another drizzle of that dressing, but this would also be really, really good with some rice or noodles.
That is the big thing with tofu, especially for a salad. You gotta make sure you get the texture like kind of nice and crispy, still a little chewy. And then this dressing right here is amazing. It's like salty, umami, sour from the vinegar in there. And then I added a little bit of, just a baby touch of some chili crisp to give it a little bit of spice. And I mean, that is just an absolutely killer salad. Bunch of big bites, components, and this would be really good, I think, with noodles or rice too. So that's another option. I mean, this might just alone might be good with just like noodles, chicken, beef, whatever you want to use, tofu like we did today. But hopefully you guys can see that, you know, during the summer salad days, like I want something that really is going to fill me up, but also tastes really, really good, and I can look forward to and kind of implement around my lifestyle depending on which way I'm going. So that will wrap it up for this video. All three of these recipes will be up on my website if you want to follow them exactly. That will wrap it up for me in this one. I will catch you all in the next one. Peace, y'all.